Yeah, it was a proper labour of love for me. I was one of those jammy-faced little children, you know, between the age of 5 and 9. Every Saturday morning, plonk yourself down in front of the telly, 3 hours of silliness. Brilliant.
You never actually got to appear on the show and have buckets of water and things thrown over you?
Sadly not. I did try, but no, I was never lucky enough. I have some friends who went on, I was ever so jealous, but no.
What was it about Tiswas that so enthralled people?
It was just something different. That sort of thing hadn't been seen on Saturday morning TV before. You know, I mean, you go back sort of 10, 15 years before, you got sort of Saturday morning cinema. Bit of a breakaway thing for children in the 60s. But on television, there was nothing like it. So people just thought, whoa, what's going on here? It's the old cliche, you know, it broke the mould, or it made the mould and then it broke it. You know, you got the alternative on the BBC a couple of years after it began with Noel Edmonds with Swap Shop. That was very sort of, very straight and
Comfortable, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Typical Auntie BBC, wasn't it? You know?
Yeah.
And Chris Tarrant, well, you know Chris.
Indeed.
You know what he's like. Madness.
Yes, you can imagine working in the same office where they were producing all that sort of thing, can't you?
Oh, I'm so jealous.
This Big Centre started showing this. Was it the weekend?
It was, yes. First episode went out on Saturday night. It actually goes out 4 times a week, but the first programme, each time it's played, is on a Saturday night. Yeah, it's an hour-long compilation taken from one particular week on Tiswas. We take an original programme, take out anything that could slow it down, and we just bring you the best bits.
So, what's the social media reaction been?
Well, we have a hashtag of "This is what they want," and if you do a search for that, the whole Tiswas fan base has gone wild over it.
I can imagine.
Because up until now, there'd just been, say, 3 video releases back in the 1990s. Then they came out on a DVD, and that's all there was, unless people have been trading the shows. And so for something that people haven't seen for 35 and more years, they've just gone wild for it. They love it. They really do.
I know when Lenny Henry was here the other week promoting his new programme about his life, and our reporter talked to him about it, he said Lenny's eyes just lit up. Because he was, what, 18, wasn't he, when he first went on that programme?
It was more or less his first big job in this area. He'd done a couple of acting roles and he'd been on stage for quite a while, but this was the first time he could sort of let himself go. And you see his complete career after that. He becomes that person that we know and love within Tiswas, I think.
Where did these tapes, did they just suddenly, somebody find them in a cupboard, did they?
Effectively, yes.
Really?
Yeah, well, ATV were terrible for keeping old programmes.
Tell me about
Especially,
it.
well, yeah, especially something as, at the time, inconsequential as Tiswas, you know, because it started life as just the bits between the programmes.
That's right.
Kind of like Philip Schofield and the Britain Cupboard, you know, and Peter Tomlinson was the one who invented it, but they never recorded it. But in the late 70s, it was around the time that home entertainment and, you know, video recorders were, you know, growing in popularity. And so people loved Tiswas and they just wanted to keep bits of it, and so they just recorded the shows. And these programmes that we are showing on Big Centre at the moment are in the main taken from the private collection of the little boy who dressed up as a rabbit and sang Bright Eyes from Watership Down. He was on the show in 1980 and he recorded every performance, but
Really?
not just his bits, the whole show. Matthew Butler was his name.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine now. He lives in Penkridge,
Yeah.
not too far away.
So he got the lot.
Yeah.
Because the trouble was, you say that ITV recorded them, but they were shocking. And it went all the way through ITV that tapes were wiped.
Yeah.
I remember years ago, a whole range of football matches. And somebody came down and said, do we need these? And I went, no, I don't think so. Yeah. And they just wiped the lot and stuff, you know, you just simply cannot get back. So it was as simple as that you've got this collection, you met this guy, and here we go.
That's it, yeah.
Because, I mean, it was what launched Chris Tarrant's career.
That's right, yes. Yeah. But, I mean, before that, I think he'd worked at the Central Office of Information, he'd been a teacher, he'd been a news reporter.
He was?
And he juggled that in the first place between being a news reporter and, as he said himself, standing in the studio with a bucket on his head.
That's right.
And he had to choose which one he preferred to do, and he chose the bucket.
And most people, of course, would be surprised to learn that they did actually have a script for this programme. I mean, they did work to a script.
Amazing. Very loosely. I think I've heard stories that they would sit in the pub the night before and throw it together, but it's obviously more than that.
Yeah.
You know, you can see what's going on.
It did have some form to it, but a lot of it really was off the top of the head. And of course, all sorts of people came on and made their careers, didn't they? I mean, we mentioned there about Lenny Henry, obviously, as one. But I'm sure there were others who came on and made it. something for themselves.
I'll tell you some of the big names who came on. Jasper Carrott was on in the early days, although he'd obviously, come a long way. Jim Davidson has always claimed to be one of the early Phantom flam flingers.
Right.
You can always tell because he's got a tattoo on his arm. So whenever the Phantom sleeve rolls up and you see the tattoo, that's how you know it's Jim Davidson.
Wow. You know this stuff, don't you? Big time.
Oh, I'm an anorak.
But I mean, clearly, it must have been great for you. I mean, as you say, you sat there as a little boy with a box of biscuits, silently in front of the television, lapping this up, and here you are now going through it. I mean, is that what I hear laughing downstairs? It's you going through these clips.
Of course it is. I always wanted to. That was kind of the thing that made me want to kind of get into TV. I've done radio now, sort of working in TV. And I thought, well, if it's as fun as that, I want to do something like that. And I always wanted to see it again. And as I said, for many years, I couldn't see it. Now we can. I thought, well, because it was made around here, a lot of people watching this station in particular will want to see it again.
So are there any particular bits you've seen so far that we should be looking out for in the weeks to come?
Well, there are so many. The bits I always used to like were the bits at the desk in the studio. You've got the massive cartoons behind them. And just those bits there when they're actually talking to you. And of course, Chris Tarrant is talking in a very grown-up way. Of course, he's also talking to the kids. That always appealed to me. Obviously, the silly sketches as well. And I used to go around nursery, actually, with pretend custard pies and put them in everybody's face. And nobody understood, what was sort of going on. I got told off for it. But those bits, I mean, Michael Palin was on there as well, and Terry Jones from Monty Python and, during one week. I'm not sure if we got those ones coming up, but it's just the Mickey taking all the time.
Yeah. Frank Carson was in it as well,
Yes,
wasn't he?
he
Quite
was,
a
yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Frank was great. He would just sort of turn up and tell jokes, and they would have to throw a bucket of water over him to get him off the screen.
I mean, I suppose one of the things that nowadays, you simply couldn't do it, could you? Because they wouldn't let you chuck all this water around and all the other things. I mean, they'd be saying it's health and safety, it's this, it's that.
Well, if you look at the programmes, they only very rarely throw buckets of water outside of the one area. They've got a sketch area. If you look carefully, there's a massive mat on the floor. But I've seen a studio recording where they go to the break, and then straight away the studio cleaners are in, mopping up and wiping up as quick as they possibly can. But it's true, because Chris Tarrant wasn't very careful with his buckets of water. So he'd throw a massive one over the cage. Of course, there'd be a camera right there, and you think, how on earth did it miss that camera?